Welcome everyone back to the wisdom stage. I appreciate you. Welcome everyone. It looks like we have reached over 30 talks, and this is coming from a person who has over 200 talks written down, and I've yet to get to them. And as far as recorded, I think I'm somewhere over 80,000. I think I actually reached almost 100,000 already since 2010 of downloaded talks. So many topics to share with you. First, let's invite socials. I appreciate everyone who shows up. And so I want to make sure that I do not forget to bring those who like to tune in from the Twitter stage. I'm going to go ahead and bring you over and leave a tweet if you would like. If you are following me here on Wisdom and joining the audience, would you do me a favor and not only follow, but will you click on my socials and actually give me a follow on one of those social links? I am Dee Shields, and that is on Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram. But I think the links that you have access to right here are going to be. All right, looks like I have something I have to click on right here. Alrighty, okay, so to make sure I don't click on that just this moment. All right, I had about 30 minutes before I had to click on that. All right, so this is already shared, and for those who are listening after the live, you probably came across the link wherever it's being shared on wherever you listen to your podcast. You can now listen to the podcast on Facebook. So for those who have been trying to connect and listen to the podcast on Facebook, you can do so via the group page. That's it. Let's talk. That's it. Let's talk. You can find that over on Facebook, and you should be able to see the Dee Shields podcast pop up, and you will know that you're in the right group. If not, you're in a copycat group, and I can't help you there. All right. So thank you everybody for tuning in. So today's topic, familial smear campaign. I want you to feel free to join the discussion. And when I come to a stopping point and I see your microphone, I will make sure that I am there, adding you on there. Okay. So I usually have these short topics, and the only reason why these topics are short is because it's less about what my opinion or wisdom share is, and more about food for thought for you in order to implement it to fit your environment. So what I'm sharing with you I may present it in one way. However, you may end up deciding that this applies to you, in this may not be just family. You may have a smear campaign going on in your community. So especially this topic as a great example is that you may end up finding out that this applies to you in a different area. But I really want to focus on the family aspect. Okay. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for those who give the likes early. For those who are in the wisdom audience, you are more than appreciated. I like that I can see you all live when you are in the audience. So I really appreciate being able to be a part of wisdom for that part also. So many things that are great about wisdom. For those who are curious and hear me saying that a lot, just join the Wisdom app to learn more. Join as a listener, join as a top mentor, as I am, and you'll be able to get what you need for you out of the app. Okay? All right, so back on topic, the familial smear campaign. First, I want to say this about the familial smear campaign. You have to understand, I understand that it is hurtful. And the worst part about the familial smear campaign, I'm going to speak from experience, the worst part about the campaign is that individuals that are in your family, right? You do understand the word familial, right? So these are people that are in your family on a smear campaign. Or it could be just one person in your family on a smear campaign. So this is a little bit more difficult for some people who are very close family knit. If you're very close and you're saying, oh man, I really need to check that individual. I really need to put a check. I need to say something to that person, but this is about to cause an uproar. And so this is a lot heavier to deal with a familial smear campaign sometimes than it is from some random person in the community at social events that you're interacting with who decides that they do not like you for whatever reason, and they begin to go on a smear campaign. That one's sometimes a little easier because you can just X that person out of your life a lot faster. Not saying that people do not do so with family, but you can X that person out your life and they're out the door and there's nothing more that you need to do with that and just move on with your life. But this familial smear campaign is always, like I said, this was a lot more because the person is your family. So the smear campaigns are always with someone that people feel like they must be telling the truth, right? If it's a friend, they go, well, that person hangs with them, so that's probably true, right? Or a coworker where they work with them, so it's probably true. But when it's your family, especially if it's a parent, like it's a parent that you have gone against everything that they wanted you to do, and so they decide to be emotional. Usually the mothers do this. They're emotional, so they start going out putting negative things out about you rather than keeping that and working on family and within that circle. They go outside the circle and start saying horrible things that are not true. But because it's a familial smear campaign coming from especially a parent, people believe it. I'm speaking to you from experience. And I'm a daddy's girl, so no, it was not my father, right? So people believe it because they go, well, that's got to be true. It's coming from the mom, right? But at the same time, there's so much more behind it. But instead of saying, well, you know what, I'm going to go directly to her and say, did you know your mom said this? Especially in my situation. For those of you who know my mother passed away, but many, many people understand that after my mother's stroke in 2007, she began to lose basically her mind. So her mind was not moving the same. She was not thinking the same. And then she was um, just starting to really associate herself with negative environments. One particular chick that she loved to always help and be around, I can still to this day cannot stand that woman, was a very negative, is a very negative person, was because she's dead to me. Not the person, not my mother, but the person who's still alive. I just don't deal with her. But she's the worst kind of negative. I have to comfort her child because of the horrible things that she says to her child. Like, this human being is the worst thing that the universe could have created. When the universe decided to create evil, human eating animals, they were like, hold on, let me create this female too. That's literally how horrible this individual is. And my mother felt some kind of sympathy and empathy for this manipulating um person. She's able to manipulate people's minds to believe that she needs help because she has a plethora of children, so she thinks that she needs help and she stays on the welfare system. So she always puts people in this, oh God, we should help her. But I'm telling you from experience that this person is horrible, to the point where her siblings and even her children don't like to deal with her. Horrible human being. But my mother decided to connect with this person, especially in her illness. She used to always try to help her when my father was alive. And my father was definitely willing to help this teen because it was, a friend of one of my siblings. So my father's like, yeah, we'll help. And this part opened the doors. And my father was very biblical and spiritual and didn't like to open the doors to things that were evil. And he like literally let in the devil. And she came into our home and just created all kind of chaos. And I remember the one thing that finally my father said enough. She had called overseas to Saudi Arabia, and it was like a $900 bill, and my father was like, put this demon out. And I remember when my father, many years later past that, my father passed away, and she was living with my sister. And the night that my father passed away, she said something horrible to my sister about what a smear campaign about what she thinks that my father thought of my sister. And my sister is just even now more emotional 5 minutes from hearing that my father had passed away. And so I went next door to my sister's house and I put the demon out. I called the cab and they said, well, where do we take her? I don't know, to hell as fast as you can. I could care less. Just get her away from my family. And I dismissed her then. But somehow in the years that I've been away, especially now that I've been away in Colorado, my mother was in Texas, and the woman was able to befriend my mother again in her sickness. And so my mother got associated with that, and it just became, so this familial smear campaign came in by the way of this demon who always spends her existence since her teens putting negative things out about me, but it didn't matter to me because she doesn't exist to me. But when she had my mother begin to do it, that now it matters because people are listening to my mother. This is my mother, and they are believing these things because my mother said it. Of course they're going to believe it, but my mother is listening to this demon from hell and thinking that this demon from hell is telling truth, and she's actually telling jealous lies, right? So the familial, one second. So the familial smear campaign can get out of control because I'm going to say several things about it, but it can get out of control because people are really caught up in thinking that the things that are being said are true. How could it not be? That's her child, right? And there's other examples of, that many of you can relate to a familiar smear campaign where it could be a cousin or a brother or a sister, someone that has said something horrible about you in their time of upset. Like when people say, well, what did you do to upset your mother? I'm going to tell you the one thing that I did to upset my mother. And forgive me, my family's different. So I actually find this a hilarious story years later, especially when we begin to talk about it after my mother passed away, and we kind of brought this thing up, and I said, well, what was mother so upset at me about? Because she was easily attached to this demon, ex-friend of my sister's, and she was able to kind of start dealing with this negative person who likes to smear about me. Why was mom so willing to do that? And it came up that there was a moment after my mother had her strokes when I was the first stroke, she drove herself to the hospital. So just instantly, I became the daughter that was brought in to start trying to figure something out regarding her health, right? So I'm already the enemy, right? At some point, you're going to see that your parents are aging, and one of you are going to have to start doing something. And if you have a difficult parent, you're going to have to start making decisions. And guess what? That difficult parent is going to start hating you, and they're going to treat your siblings like they're the best thing ever, and they're going to hate you because you have to make medical decisions that they're uncomfortable with. But my mother had a stroke in 2007 while she was at work, and she drove herself to the hospital. And she survived that, and she thought she was Superwoman after that. So she didn't change her diet or anything, and she just kept going, right? So she went on, fast forward to the shorter version, to have 3 more major strokes. The 4th one killed her. And then she went on to have additional mini TIAs, the smaller strokes that occur, and maybe not something noticeable is happening, but inside the body, horrific things are going on, especially inside the brain, which controls movement and swallowing and a host of other things. So, the movement, of course, the vision actually had started going away from just not treating what was happening with her body and her health the way that it should be. So I'm driving behind her one day, and I have my son with me. My son's in high school, and he goes, "Oh man, mom, I went down to visit her in San Antonio, Texas." And he's like, Grant's really passing through those stop signs and stoplights, and she's not seeing them. So we finally get to where we're going. I'm into a complete panic, and my anxiety is high from just trying to drive behind her. I was almost willing to swerve my car around and get hit just so she wouldn't get hit for the things she was doing. And so we get to the place where we're going, and I said, Mother, you're not going to be able to drive again. You're going through stop signs. And she goes, well, those stop signs were never there before. You know what? Gentrification on. Many things have changed in your city, and those stop signs are there now, and you can't just not stop because they were never there before. So that was the funny in the story. But so I made the decision for her not to drive. And so the keys were taken away. Evil me and came down from Fort Hood, Texas, removed the keys, the car's removed, and she's now livid for many, many years that I saved her and many people's lives from her driving with really limited vision that she tried to cover for many years. So yes, she was willing to get on the smear campaign involuntarily. Maybe I'm trying to console myself in my grief to say, in her sickness, she didn't mean to do it, and that's just, those are my personal issues. But the most important thing, and I told you those stories to just let you know that I know this from experience, but the most important thing with the familial smear campaign is this, lovers. In the familiar smear campaign, the universe is only testing you. And this is where we begin to wrap up. The universe is going to test you in the familiar smear campaign. How so? The test is in your reaction. Dang. Telling you from experience. So the test is in your reaction. So you're going to be tested. And if you continue to be upset and try to defend, and, people are going to believe what they're going to believe. So if they heard something negative about you and they say that they care about you, they should come to you and ask. And once you break down the source and where it's coming from and everything behind it, you might get clear up some lies that are out there. But if they don't take the time to do that, that's on them. But you do not have to get on that negative journey because you're guarding your energy and blocking negativity. So you don't have to get on that journey trying to go to each person to clear up the crap that they heard. Especially me. My mother's passed away. It's probably a dozen people that I need to call to say, you're treating me this way because you were told this, this, and that. And I can tell that you were told this because you started acting differently after talking to my mother, et cetera, et cetera. I can do all that, but I am guarding my energy. I do not have the time nor the place. If someone wants to take something that they think is true about me, they have no solid proof and they just think it's true, and they decide to think that about me, that's you. And my reaction is important to not go and to have some negative arguments back and forth over and over with a bunch of people, siblings, cousins, friends, close family friends, whatever. I have no obligation to clear up what you think about me. The universe is watching your reaction. So if you have a familial smear campaign where someone is going around from your family saying horrible things about you and putting out negative things about you and your personality and the things you do and what you say and your past and the men you date and all those things, if someone's doing this to you and they put this out about you and they won't stop and they choose to just believe it and others tend to jump on board and believe it as well, the universe is watching your reaction to what you're going to do about that. Block the negative energy. That's my thought on that. All right. Thanks for everybody who stopped by. I appreciate the audience so much. Lala, is that it? Lala, Love Goddess. Thank you. Love the name. Thank you for stopping by. Sapphire London. Thank you for stopping by. Dr. Rao, I need to catch another one of your stages. Thank you so much for stopping by. Yoga. I need to get into that. Adriel, thank you for stopping by. Joseph, thank you for stopping by, Cecilia. Thank you for stopping by, Angelica. I noticed that a lot of my people who stop by seem to be overseas, and I appreciate that. Ever, thank you for stopping by. Krim, thank you for stopping by. Daniel, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. Oh, the Daniel F. Harb Show now. Yes, love it. Coach Art, thank you for stopping by. Miranda, thank you for stopping by. John, thank you. Angela, I appreciate you. Jacqueline, thank you for stopping by. Carol, thank you for stopping by. Marzati, I hope I said it right. I hope I did not mess that up. Thank you for stopping by. Please follow and I'll follow back. I appreciate each and every one of you. Familial smear campaigns. The universe is testing in a kind way. This test has come upon you to use your free will in your reaction. Which direction are you going to go reacting to it? You can always put a distance between those people that are deciding to do the worst in regards to your name, because your name is your legacy. So if they don't want to put out nothing nice about you, or anything nice about you rather, then it's up to you to not go defending it, just distance. That's the gift, the free will. You've been given the gift of distance. You can use it however you care to. Overseas, move to another state, choose another neighborhood, block numbers, disconnect people from your socials. There you go. All right. I'll be back again soon. The familiar smear campaign. That's the topic.